Hey there, my friend. So today's video hits a little bit different, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this live. But you know me, I'm an open book, and I'm just gonna have a true confession here today. Have you ever wondered why you don't get started or you don't show up daily? Or you don't do that one task you're supposed to do for today's homework. So today, I invited many of you, and I hope you were on that webinar because it wasn't the typical webinar. It wasn't about sales. It wasn't about making money. It was about what is digital growth community, the legacy program, and the 2-hour workflow. How does that matter to you? And why should you care? I almost didn't get on there. I thought, I'll watch the replay. I am here to tell you that was the best information ever. And not because I got a behind the scenes look at what legacy program is, although that was phenomenal. It wasn't about the women's stories, and yet it was. It was about learning, and I'm going to be a little selfish here. It was about learning about myself through the eyes of others. And all this time, and this is embarrassing for me, so I hope you've got my back. Fear had me paralyzed. What does that look like? What if I fail again? Here's a big one for me. What if I waste more money again? What if I'm too old? What if everyone expects too much of me? What if I let myself down again? And I think that was the big one that hit me like a wet mackerel up alongside the face. I've worked a long time online. I've tried and bought a lot of programs, failed at most of them. But when I listen to these women, all, and I do mean 100%, all of my excuses flew out the window. And I cried. That's why in the previous post I put, once I get myself together, I was bawling like a baby. I want to talk about a couple of the women's stories because if they can do it, you can do it. If they can do it, so can I. But there was a common thread that wove through all of their stories. And that was their why. Why did they even look at digital marketing and DGC? What would be their motivating factor to get up every day and focus and dedicate 2 hours to their business without fail? No excuses. And it dawned on me my why had never been drilled down deep. And when I think back, even to my very first network marketing company, that was my problem. I was so zeroed in and focused on my why is to make money. Nope, that's not it. And that's why I would always fall away. Because if the money didn't come fast enough for what I needed the money for, it wasn't incentive enough for me to keep going because I would get tired and burned out. So let me share. I didn't take notes. I did write down the circumstances that impacted me and brought me to tears. So Tanya, who is a resident of South Africa, she's elderly like me, and she gave her story. This was a first for me from her hospital bed in the hospital. But she was so excited to share what this opportunity did for her. You see, she, like me, and probably you too, had been building a network marketing business. She had a team and she was driven. She had goals, big dreams, because she's chronically ill. And you could see one of her afflictions is her hands were all gnarled up. She has, oh man, there it goes, arthritis, but it's the bad kind. Anyway, um, and she's just in the hospital in a lot of pain and very sick all the time. And she, I really could relate to her because this happened to me. Not that I was sickly, but so one day her and her husband would travel to all of the events with her team because that's what you do, right? You go to convention, you go to all of the product trainings, you go to the team trainings, you spend all this money and time, rah, rah, rah. Meanwhile, it's detracting from A, your life, B, your business, and you're not making any money. You either internally have the drive to build the business or you don't. Now, that's how I think, and that's how Tanya thought, because here she is in her hospital bed, hurting, but positive, encouraging her teammates. And a teammate, her excuse for not showing up was, I have a headache. And Tanya says, what the heck? I'm dying and I'm showing up. And she lost half of her team because the team's drive, the team individually, their whys were different than Tanya's. And the same thing happened to me. I lost my entire team. And if any of that team is here watching, listening today, I owe you a huge apology. I was brand new. I didn't know about business. The idea of individualizing your whys wasn't in my head, wasn't even on my radar yet. I thought if I wanted the business that bad, surely you do too. And so you have to work like I'm working. Oh my gosh, who wants to do that? And so I'm sorry. What Tanya got out of this digital business was She hit her first six-figure income within months of starting. She isn't building a team. She doesn't depend on anyone else for her income. And she said the hardest part for her, and oh my gosh, any workaholics out there, I can so relate to this. The hardest part for her was to learn how to have fun, how to not always be working. Can you relate to that? We're so indoctrinated to go to school, get a good education, get a good paying job, and then slave forever. And with the economy and the rising prices today, you can't. It's impossible. Impossible. So Tanya really inspired me to learn how to have fun, get up out of this chair and go do something fun every single day. So that was number one. Number two was a newly divorced mother who had nothing. She walked away with her kids and a car. That was it. She had a good job, but it didn't pay enough to support her and her kids on their own. So she moved in with her mother. Now, as it turned out, her mom was her biggest supporter. She didn't know squat about digital marketing and what that was, but she didn't care. She believed in her daughter, and her daughter just put her head down, worked the 2 hours a day, followed the 2 hour workflow. And today, now this is 2.5 years later, she not only is making those $1,400 days, $300 days, $2,100 days, but the skills that she learned inside of Digital Growth Community, she has expanded her business to include social media marketing for local companies who need help. She's producing her own digital products for sale. And for her, now keep in mind, she had no money. Her kids moved in with her mom. The best part of what this business gave her was the ability to be with her mother, because shortly thereafter, her mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And she knew, as do I, and I know you do too, if you're working a job, to get the time off to care give a dying loved one doesn't happen. And she was able to provide for her family while caring for her mom all the way to the end. Is that not amazing? And there were a couple more. And honestly, let me check my notes here. Oh, I have to tell you this one. So another lady in South Africa, she and her husband had a business, and due to the economy, they lost everything. I mean, everything, everything. She was so distraught. She couldn't even get through her story thinking back on it. And I can only imagine, because the morning before she found Digital Growth Community, she was going to take her own life. She was that desperate, that distraught, and she had no hope. None. None. But in the afternoon, before her husband came home from work, she happened to get on Facebook. She saw a friend doing a live, much like this. And on that live, she was explaining about the 2 hour workflow and what it gave her and the income that she could earn for her family. And it gave her enough hope that she called her friend to ask her about it. Because being in that dark of a place, as you can imagine, she didn't believe it. She was so skeptical. But when her husband got home, she knew enough to explain it to him, and he said, anything can help. Let's do it. But then the insurmountable problem rose. They had no money, none. So together they decided they sold her car. She got started, and within 3 weeks, she bought a new car and paid cash. And the rest is history. Now she's helping other people who have lost all hope get started and build their income from home in 2 hours a day. So you don't know what your story is going to inspire other people. I was so blown away and so grateful that I got on that webinar. So if you were on that webinar, I would love to hear your biggest takeaway. What grabbed your heart? I, you, it's really hard for me to think anyone could have watched that webinar and not had a tear roll down their cheek at some point. It was, it renewed my faith and my hope for my business too. And I know you are struggling too. You just have to dig deep and find out why you want to get out of the situation you're in. So if you don't want another year to go by to be the same as last year, message me. Let's have a conversation. You won't know unless you ask. And for those of you that maybe got the link too late and couldn't get on the call, when there's a replay, if you'd like it, just drop the word replay and I'll send you the link. And again, I want to hear from those of you who hopped on there. I want to know what hit you right between the eyes, just like it did me. So for now, I'm going to dive back into my 2 hour workday. Then I've got my regular job to do. But until the next video, have a great day.